Hello Ratbags, it's Jade. Welcome to a special Last Oasis video preview. Last Oasis is an MMO survival game coming out in September time. This got revealed at the PC Gamer Show at E3. It's been going around for a little while before that with small teaser trailers, but its big reveal really was at PC Gamer. Since then they've been ramping up more information and they've done another interview with PC Gamer confirming a bunch of stuff. Actually it's their AMA or their MMA or EMA? MMA? You get the idea. It's a question and answer session on Reddit that they did recently, and there's a bunch of information they're going to be giving us about what the game is. I'm looking forward to this one. I'm really excited. If you want to apply for the beta and actually play the game right now, you can do. Join the Discord. I'll pop the link in the description box down below, and there is a way for you to sign up and join in. So just a recap if you don't know what Last Oasis is. It is a survival big player MMO. You're going to be going around lots of different lands, trying to get resources and building these great big machines to travel and use to fight and combat. Not only that, you'll have weapons and things like grappling hooks, and the combat is very different as you can tell from the trailer. You'll be running around building these different style contraptions, machines, land boats, and unlike other survival games who mostly rely on getting offline raided, Last Oasis has its own unique systems in play. Basically, your bases will be able to move, and that's where you'll be living, on these moving contraptions. And you're going to need to move, as the whole point of Last Oasis is that everyone is fighting for water. The earth is facing big massive scorch waves that come and go, so periodically you're going to have to move from one server to another or one grid to another, trying to escape the harsh heat. If you don't, you risk your actual land vehicle being destroyed and of course losing all your stuff and you dying. So it is very much a PvP focused game, but not necessarily one of these ones where you have to be in a huge clan. There are solo little vehicles you can build, and they've got lots of big plans to bring in all sorts of things like trading. So I'm pretty confident that they'll work out good ways that players that don't necessarily want to just go raiding all the time can fulfill a good decent gameplay experience playing this game. I'm not the only person excited about Last Oasis. Angry Joe highlighted the game as part of his top 20 E3 games after getting more information about it from my preview video I did a few months ago. So big shout out to Angry Joe for giving me a shout out.
Basically the story is you're fighting over water, so water is going to be the precious resources, so you're probably going to see the most fights over there. And you know, basically check out Jade PG's channel. He's got a good video on it, and it just looks absolutely fascinating.
So it's like the reverse of Waterworld.
Yeah, it's
Dirt! You found dirt?
Dirt World.
So make sure you go and check out the first video I did talking about Last Oasis for even more information and background. So Angry Joe's pretty excited about it, so am I. It does look like it's offering something brand new, a new way to play a survival game rather than just the old methods. Always camping spawn points where stuff respawns, and always playing on the same static maps. Anyway, that's all the old stuff, that's the recap. What are we talking about now? Well, there's loads of answers they've been giving out with this Q&A session. So a big one is it going to be an Epic Games exclusive? No, they're putting this out on PC on Steam, and they haven't ruled out other platforms, but there will not be any exclusivity. They want to get the game out in as many players' hands as possible. They've said that Epic Games really helped them out a lot and they've given encouraging advice, but there is no difference the way they've been treated just because they're not going Epic Games exclusive. Where did the concept of the walkers originate from? Donkey Crew said it was the idea to get away from the problems that other survival games have. They took inspiration for the walkers from art and engineering, Leonardo da Vinci's inventions, Theo Jensen's Stand Beast, Boston Dynamics' robots, Frank Herbert's Dune, George Miller's Mad Max, Hayao Miyazaki's Howl's Moving Castle, and Bong Joon-ho's Snowpiercer all influenced the style of the game to some extent. What's been the most difficult part about making a game like Last Oasis? They've said it's the genre. They really want to make a survival MMO that doesn't have the same sort of stuff or annoying features that other games have. They go on to explain that a lot of their emphasis is on the vehicles, on the walkers, having their own full physical system. So you can harpoon them, they'll react, you can make them trip up. Inertia and force are going to be important while combating or just moving around. As you can see from the trailer, that is happening a lot, so it looks really good. It's not going to be a simple case of just wailing on something's big massive hitbox. We'll be able to disable some of these for a period of time if you manage to trip them up or pull them around. There's around 30 people working on this from Donkey Crew Studios, and that's a pretty big number for an independent game. So that to me says it's going to be pretty polished. Will resources like trees spawn over time, or what's going to be happening with that? They've said they don't want it to be like that. They don't want players camping, as I mentioned earlier. There's going to be expedition maps, and there's also going to be brand new maps. The brand new maps will be around a lot longer with fresh resources, and expedition maps might only be available for a few hours before the sun scorches them. They really want people to go and explore these different maps, different servers. Is there going to be any rarity crafted items like Ascendant or Rare? They've said they're working on system, but they don't know if they're going to add it, and it might not be there during early access yet. Is it possible to win against a big crew if you're just a one-person player against 5? They've said that, yep, absolutely. If you've got the skills, which it looks like it's going to be a very skill-based game, you can definitely hold off more players than just you versus 1. So how long are you going to be staying at each location? Remember, you've got to move around because the sun will destroy you. They've said 7 days. That's how long you'll be playing on the same sort of style server, or you can choose to play on that server, before having to move off with your contraption, or maybe even by foot, before the sun gets you. They've got no limit yet to how many walkers are going to be in the game. They're still working on a lot. What's the function of the biggest walker, which is called a flotilla? Deck space is an important factor in the game. There's only so much space in our walkers to pack things on, and large walkers provide more deck space. Apart from that, walkers specialise in different directions like combat, transport and exploration. How the trading system is going to work is they will make cargo and they'll travel through deserts to bring wood to other parts of Oasis to get profit. So there will looks likely be maps or servers that don't have as much wood, and that's a way that you can go and sell your wares. That's where the solo play-in, or maybe even slightly PvE, comes into play. As long as you're willing to do some trading and there's ways that you won't get raided, that looks like that's going to be a good experience. I don't have any plans for microtransactions, for costumes, XP boosters, or any nonsense like that. It's not something they've thought about yet, really. Are there going to be any NPC bosses in game? Apparently they're working on something exciting. You saw in the last frame of that trailer there was a monkey-like creature. Maybe they're some of the enemies, or possibly even tames. Although I have seen in a previous one that there won't be any taming in the game, so I guess that rules that out. Will there be any taxes or flags on territory? We have a claim system we hope encourages cooperation. Instead of taxing players in your territory, you get a bonus from people harvesting in your territory. We want to balance it in a way that the large clans actually care for the small ones in their territory and protect them from pirates. So that's pretty similar to Atlas at the moment. Atlas has gone through lots of iterations, but roughly if you own an island that you've claimed, people can live on your island and you get a percentage of their resources. Now, I stand corrected. I said earlier the largest walkers are going to be flotillas, but it looks like no, the flotilla's actually going to be a sort of NPC town. It's going to be the last human city that walks through the desert. They're doing the beta invites in waves. So like I said, make sure you join Discord to get more information so you catch the next one. Will we be able to fully loot after killing a person? Kind of. There's some safety mechanisms, but in general fights are thrilling. So I guess it looks like you'll be able to get some items, maybe only some items on their inventory or their hotbar. Or maybe it's only certain resources that you get and you don't get their armors. So the map actually decreases and increases when there's more players. If it's got lots of players on, the map gets bigger. And if there's not as many players on, it will contract. Will you have fast travelling methods? Yes, you will be able to spawn at different points on the oases. No plans for pets or animal mounts yet. Doesn't look like they're adding that stuff to it. Is there going to be a soft cap for character levels? Yes, there will be. Is there going to be specialisation? Yes, there's going to be specialisation, so it might have to be a bit careful about where you put your skill points in. The water really is a big focus of the game, as it says here. Water is the main resource of our game. You need it to do so many different things. It's part of surviving, respawning and many crafting recipes. Good point being made about Worlds Adrift. That was an MMO that recently shut down. And it had a similar sort of mechanical style where you'd build airships and you'd sky through the world. And you could use a grappling hook to get on top of your airship and build it and do stuff. But that recently shut down. So maybe a big fan base from that game would come over to Last Oasis. How much would you say has gone into functional and visual aspects of all the walkers? A lot, but not enough. When you design a walker, you can't plan for every possible future iteration or added functionality, so we decided to keep them relatively simple for now. It's very probable they will receive some polish and more features in the future, however, they are the core to our game and deserve all the love we can give them. Someone's asked what makes Last Oasis different from Ark or Atlas. The developer says, I've played a lot of Ark and I had a lot of fun, but there's things that frustrated me on a core level. You just can't take a break. Waking up in the middle of the night to check on your base just wasn't a great experience for me, especially multiple days in a row, and that ultimately led to having to join a mega clan to even have a chance. So when we worked on Last Oasis, we had a list of things that pissed us off when playing other games, and we brainstormed how to solve them. For example, we want to get rid of offline based raiding and instead make sure the battles are actually fought when both sides are online, and we wanted to allow players to have an intense experience, but then log off and take their belongings with them. However long you feel you need to take a break. And basically the result of all those thoughts turned us towards a nomadic survival game with walking machines where you have to keep moving. So you will be able to build bases, but you can pack it up and place it in your walker. Then you can journey or log off with it in the safety of no man's land deserts. Someone's asked about the lack of ranged weaponry. They've said it takes place, Last Oasis, hundreds of thousands of years in the future, and the nomads have invented some crazy killing machines that span time, like repeaters, huge slingshots, scattershot guns, bows and arrows, javelins and other conventional ranged weapons just seems a bit out of place. That said, we do have a lot of conventional melee weapons. It turned out that after boarding a walker, the most efficient way to slaughter enemy nomads was with a good old fashioned blade. It's also true that we may be partly biased. Donkey Crew started as a group of die-hard modders that worked on a mod for the game Mountain Blade Warband, which is a game that is all about directional melee combat similar to Mordu and For Honor. Basically we're all a bunch of melee combat snobs who love skill-based combat that's up close and personal. What about progression? In Last Oasis, as you progress through, access more aspects of the game, more advanced technologies, and you get the ability to specialise in the areas you're most interested in. They're really talking about their combat being very similar to Mountain Blade and For Honor, and that you're going to have to choose your block and attack directions. You'll have to manage your footwork and understand the features of both their and the opponent's weapons. Someone asked about toxicity in the survival games, how they're going to handle it, and Dev said we're not too sure yet. They're hopefully that the mechanics they've got, like no offline raiding, will stop some of that stuff going on. Is there a first person view planned? No. Generally it's not planned for the majority of the gameplay, although we have some situations where there is first person view. I guess like aiming stuff from one of the big sort of cross things or one of the big turrets. They added the reason they don't have first person is distance control is important, and we think that third person allows you to feel best when your character is doing. But if our community wants first person, we will of course add it. The way clans are going to work is that clans can claim parts or even entire oases to receive additional resources and other bonuses. Claims get protection, which is lifted at a certain specific time, which allow other clans to challenge it but doesn't require 24/7 commitment to defend. Keep in mind however that at some point it will be burnt by the sun and you'll have to move on to find yourself new land. As for clan limits, we're not planning to have a hard cap, but because of a limited amount of resources and constant need to move, it can be more difficult to manage large clans. They've talked about how they're going to stop players just camping all the fresh spawns. Well, obviously if the maps are changing dynamically, they're also adding maps that will be better for starter players, so they'll have more of the basics. But you have to move on if you want to get access to more materials. The map has got a sort of shard basis, so you'll be able to join different ones when you create your character. After creating your character, you will spawn in a starting zone, which is a single hex tile on that shard's world map. Players are able to immersively travel to different hex tiles by travelling to the edge of their current map with a walker. Shards are created for us for the purpose of creating group geographic regions. There's going to be a character creation system. Not really worried about DLC or expansions just yet. They want to get early access out of the way. Will there be PvE? Yes, they're bringing the genre to the next level and adding a skill-based combat system. We realised early on that we should ease players into the complexities of the system, and so we created bipedal enemies as training dummies. So it does look like I was right. Maybe some of them monkeys we saw at the very end of the trailer are going to be enemies. Since its initial implementation, however, they have been expanded much further. In the near future, we'll be expanding the PvE side of the game to include large enemies you have to fight using your walker. Okay, that adds a bit more to it, so it's not just player versus player. That's pretty cool. There is going to be absolutely no PvE or PvP separated servers though. It's all just part of the same story or the same gameplay. After launch, they're hoping to add new walkers, enemies, dynamic events, oasis climates, a huge walking city everyone can visit, ancient structures left behind by perished civilizations, and lots more. They want regular updates after release that are heavily influenced by the community's feedback. They don't have a set amount of players during combat or wars or battles. We definitely plan to have larger battles, but our main priority is to make sure that our melee and walker combat is fluid and lag free. We've been working on optimising the Unreal Engine network code quite a lot for this, and we are far from done. And while they won't talk about how many players can be on one server at any time, server performance is their priority. They want to make sure it's good for everyone that has a great experience. They've said their character creation won't be a stupid one like Ark, where you can literally make a midget or someone really tall, so any customization won't really have any functional effect. Will walkers be customizable, similar to that of Worlds Adrift, where you can build your own ships to fit your needs however you want, or like the Atlas, where the decks are buildable and customizable? Presets are the option they're following, as walkers are not the simplest things to make. Functional, you'll definitely be able to customize your walkers to an extent, but it won't be like in Worlds Adrift that you can completely build something brand new from scratch. I would say it probably fits close to Atlas than anything, at least if we compare Worlds Adrift to Atlas. So it does look like they are going to be taking the same sort of route. You could have an 18 cannon ship in Last Oasis, just like you could maybe in Atlas. So more talking about trading NPCs, they really want players to be able to do trading if they want to be a lone sort of player. They really want maybe dedicated players to take inspiration from games like Eve, and you can even set up like a trade guild. Quests are a little less definitive than before release, but we love to have lore-driven adventures. At the moment we have ancient structures to explore and look for treasures, and we'll continue to add features in similar nature. We did a lot of work on our lore, have many lore documents and stories written, so we're definitely not running out of ideas any time for that. And lastly, of course, during early access, it does happen, games will encounter wipes, so you're going to lose a lot of progress occasionally, but it looks like the devs are trying to avoid that as possible. They're going out of their way to make sure you keep your stuff, and it does sound like when you pack all your stuff in your base, it should be a lot easier to ensure your stuff doesn't get wiped. So there we go, that is all the questions and answers from their AMA, or their question time. I am looking into this in a big way. I've been trying to talk to the devs a lot, and I'm hoping to play the beta, guys. So if you want to keep up to date with Last Oasis and obviously see gameplay when it comes out in September time, make sure you've got my channel locked down for this and all the other survival game news you need. September the 3rd, Donkey Cruise Last Oasis will be coming to early access on Steam.